Hey everyone, welcome back to But Why the Reviews. And this week we have our first anime review. We're reviewing Spy Family. As always, I am Kate, co-founder and editor-in-chief of But Why Though, a geek community and head of the film and anime sections. And I'm here with Charles.
Hello.
Charles, tell the audience a little bit about you and what you do over here at But Why Though.
So I do a lot of review writing. I do a lot of our anime, a little bit of video games, a little bit of comics, really just about anything. Um, and I'm really happy to be talking about Spy Family. I appreciate you saying the name since I've never heard it before, so I didn't know what to do with the X. So that's great.
There was a slight panic in my brain where it's like I don't remember if it's Spy X Family, Spy Family. It's a Hunter situation. Anyway, you say it, I will say is correct. But for those of you who don't know, Spy Family is an anime that is simulcast with Crunchyroll, and I believe they did a simul dub as well. Like those dubs were up pretty quick after the first simulcast episode. And it is based on Shonen Jump Spy Family manga. Here's the quick synopsis. World peace is at stake, and secret agent Twilight must undergo his most difficult mission yet, pretend to be a family man. Posing as a loving husband and father, he'll infiltrate an elite school to get close to a high-profile politician. He has a perfect cover, except his wife's a deadly assassin, and neither one knows each other's identity. But someone does, his adopted daughter, who's a telepath. And I think that like the synopsis is really like the easiest way to describe Spy Family. They're a bunch of misfits and nobody is in on the joke except for the child, who just like nobody's gonna believe anyway. So what were your expectations for the anime starting out, Charles?
Well, I was expecting a comedy. I mean, obviously set up that way. It didn't end up being quite the way that I thought because I saw a few memes going into it, and with him being a spy and her being an assassin, I almost kind of expected a little more of like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like back and forth, like they'd be going to missions and just missing each other or something. And that obviously it's much more just about just them being at home and Anya going to her school and stuff. So I actually I was very surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised that it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It definitely exceeded all of my expectations. It's so good.
Awesome. I mean, and that's one of the things that like I felt coming into it too. Like I was actually the exact same. I was like, oh, this is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I read the manga. And so I had that dispelled when the anime was coming around. But one of the things that I was really excited for was Studio Wit and Cloverworks. So if you have seen the first few seasons of Attack on Titan, that is Studio Wit. They also did the Bubble feature film on Netflix. And then Cloverworks recently did Horimiya, which is one of the big shoujo romances last year, I believe. And so for me, my expectations were really animation. Like this had to look good. Like one of the things with the manga is how emotive Anya is. Her faces, the way like the emotion either rises or completely gets sucked out. And I think that that was something that I wanted to make sure that they kept going in and nailing that really like, I don't want to like, it's this weird wholesome type of funny while consistently dealing with like dark stuff, like the fact that the mom is like her first line of thought is I will just kill this other person and then their child will have to drop out of school and then my child can go into school. And like those things and those comedic elements I think had to match with the animation style. So as we go into our I guess overall general thoughts on this series, like what did you think after actually just after you watched it, because for those listening, Charles reviewed this for the site, so you can find all of his episodic reviews and his season 1 core 1 review up as well. I will put that in the little notes down there that you can click on. But yeah, what were your general thoughts?
Overall, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's so good. There is a couple of things, a couple of side characters that don't quite work for me. The biggest one would be Yuri.
Mhm.
That they took him as far as they do is like, you know, like, I mean, like he opens that locker and you just see pictures and you're like, I just wanted to like screen cap and, you know, post on Twitter, be like, you know, say you want to do your sister without saying it. Like,
Yeah, it was so bad. So Yuri is consistently the one thing I hate about this like anime
he
and
is like
manga.
Spy Family's Mineta. He's the
Yes,
reason why we'll
that's
never
what
be
he
able to give
is.
the show a 10.
Exactly. I do not disagree with you there. I think that, and I, it's weird because I think it adds that little, so initially he adds that romantic tension dynamic that you haven't really seen with Yor and Twilight as much, because if you have not watched the show, Twilight and Yor are just very like oblivious, like they're oblivious to anything that isn't their own life, and sweetly so. Like you can tell that there is a respect for each other, but there's nothing truly romantic until they like kind of start parenting Anya. And at first Yuri comes in and he kind of like pushes them a little bit, and it's like yes, and then they show his locker and I'm like no, like let's not go that way too much. And I think that that's actually a trope that ends up hurting a lot of anime and manga for me. Something similar happened in Imakoi, which is a manga that I'm reviewing, and I'm like, can we not do this with siblings, please? That would be great.
Yeah.
That being said though, what were some of your um favorite characters when it came to the series? Like what were the ones you enjoy watching the most, you can't wait to see more of?
Well, my favorite character, and actually like the only they also bring in the only like structural thing that I kind of wish was that they could have done differently with the show, is Yor. I
Mhm.
love Yor. Yor is so her training Anya to do dodgeball is just like so great. She's so sweet and funny. But at the same time, like I say that it's the only structural thing that I kind of wish might be different with the show, is just because like Yor's only purpose in the larger scheme is just to be there. She's
Yeah.
there so Anya can get into school, and now it's like she doesn't have like a real reason to be there anymore.
Yeah.
They find good ways to have her like interact. Like there's the episode when Lloyd's pushing her Anya too hard to study, and she just like gives some pearls of wisdom. And it's like, yes, listen to Yor is why.
Yes.
But I wish like there are those moments where like I wish she could just somehow on some level be in on it, so that she could just be more active in the episodes, because she's so phenomenal. And I
Yeah.
was so worried that I was going to be conflicted about her, because she is an assassin, and I'm like, oh, she seems really sweet, but you know, she kills people. But then like they have like the moment when she teaches Anya how to defend herself, and she's going through like, you know, you don't hurt innocent people, you don't hurt little kid. Like, oh, okay, so she's not just pay me money and I will put
Yeah.
anyone
She has a
down.
code. She has a
She has
code.
a code. You know, she has her moments where she's like, you know, if I kill everyone in this party, no one can say I didn't show up with my boyfriend. I don't think she's just that. Since she does do those things, it pops in her, but she wouldn't actually
Exactly.
do.
And I think that that dynamic with her is what makes it really good and makes her a little bit different than a lot of those like dangerous characters that we see in a lot of stories. Is she's very like, she is the, what is a thorn princess, that's her like
Yep.
assassin name. She is the thorn princess, but I feel like she's the thorn princess out of necessity and not because like she actually wants to kill
She
people.
she
So
needs to
she's
make
like
money.
thinking things. Exactly. And I think that that's what the show does really well. And I actually can't wait for Core 2, which is the second half of the season, or they're because they're doing it season 1 and 2 parts, right? Like we have mid-season hiatus and then, or
I
is it?
guess that's what I had heard, but like Crunchyroll started advertising the last episode is the finale, and
Mm,
then so I have no idea. It's
okay.
so
Well, whenever the next batch of
yeah,
episodes come,
October, when October
yes,
comes.
when October comes, I'm really excited to see people see what happens next, because Yor does have more to do, and they get a dog, which isn't a spoiler because it's like all of their promotional stuff has like this big adorable dog on it. And this was like this first half. What I really, and my favorite episode is actually the episode where Twilight thinks that Yor may be involved in Yuri's like secret police
Mhm.
stuff, and he like stalks her and like bugs her. It's like, I have to know because I'm a spy. And then like there are these little moments where he realizes that just being a husband is more important than being a spy, or that he should trust her, or like during the interview where he just keeps telling himself, don't punch him, don't punch him, don't punch him, you're a spy, think about the mission.
And
And he lets out, because I think that there's something really beautiful that I love about this is the building of family and the concept of family between them all, because it looks really different. And I think while I love Yor, I think my favorite character is Twilight, because of how he approaches all of these situations. Like there's this one bit where he's trying to get Anya to apologize. So he uses his spy skills to sneak into her school and like put sorry everywhere he can to make her apologize. And it's a lot of like him learning how to soften the edges, because he hasn't had to before, which I
yeah.
really appreciate. But I think the most fun I have watching the show is when Anya is just being Anya.
I mean, Anya is absolutely phenomenal. And I do think that like, and this is like no small praise on my part, but when it comes to Anya, I think that like they have so many moments where she is just a child. Like I think this is the
Yeah.
best anime representation of actual young children since like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Where like they have those moments like in the last episode when she's like doing the thing with the penguin, and the other where she's like, and then she like, and they show her stand up and she actually like kind of like, because she's a kid, she's like, and then she grabs the penguin and starts walking along and introducing him to everyone. It's like she just has such a childlike quality that all too often, like so frequently in anime, like kids are written like small adults, like they're
Yeah.
not actually kids. And she's just
Yeah.
like, despite the fact that she has all of this telepathic knowledge, she still just like panics and like, or like when Lloyd's trying to find a way for her to get Stella's, and he's like
Mhm.
testing out sports, and he has the like, and he has to do like gymnastics or something, and she like falls on it, then flops onto the floor and just looks up and just starts bawling. And it's like, that's what it, like anyone who's been around a little kid, they fall over and it's
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that poor child. But
Yeah, it's
absolutely,
adorable. And I think that there are like those little moments too, because like a lot of what Anya does is she trusts the grown-ups around her to know what they're doing, to then read their mind to know what she should do.
mhm,
And like there are really great moments where she may not be the most intelligent, like
mhm.
she falls asleep in math class, but like she is like emotionally intelligent in a way that like she is interpreting what everybody around her is feeling, and then having to come up with a way to react to that, and also like process that, especially with that little shit Damien. I hate that child. I hate him so much.
Speaking of Damien, that's like the other element of the show that that I also kind of roll my eyes at, is the whole fact that like Damien's 6
Yeah.
and they're like playing this like, oh, he's sweet on Anya. Like he's 6 people. He does.
So my first crush when I was when I was 7, and I had my brother be named after him, and that is just very weird. And I understand that, but he did a Chris Bettas in, like, it was weird. It was like it was funny. Like I think the crushing thing, like that doesn't bother me as much. Um I think that like crushes happen, so that doesn't bother me. But I think the one thing that I wish there was more of is like Anya is very emotionally intuitive. So I don't understand why she's not in on it too.
She hasn't picked up yet on his stray
Yeah,
thoughts that he's
that's the
not with his
one
mother.
thing, is it feels like it's because she knows everything that's happening with him, she should kind of be one up on that. Like she should know what's going on.
That would make even if it was just to the point where like she like walked up, they had a scene where like she walks up to you and like, why would someone think they like you but then not treat you nice?
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. But I do actually, I think I do agree with you in the overall that like these kids are kids. They have their own little like kid ecosystem where they talk to each other, and Anya's like little best friend is also really adorable. I want to punt all of Damien's friends,
oh
but
God, yes.
like they're awful.
Also, I'm sure that that child in the dodgeball game had a perfectly legal birth certificate saying they were 6 years old,
It
but
just reminded me of baseball.
exactly. I was like, oh God.
um But yeah, I mean, are there some places that you think the show can improve on in the next half of it?
I mean, I do. I definitely want to see more with Yor. Like you said, like I'm excited now that you've said that, like they do find a way to get her more involved, because I do love her, and I always want to see her and Anya. Her and Anya together are just so like the last episode when the guy's trying to escape and Anya's grabbed him and they go like running by and she just yells, "Mama, I'm being kidnapped!"
Yes.
Like, yep, that's it. Yor's on it. If as long as at least once or twice a season we get to see drunk Yor, that's great.
Yeah, drunk.
I wish I was
I
that
feel
coordinated drunk.
so I'm not that coordinated drunk, but I feel her. I feel like when in the episode when she's supposed to kiss and he's just like, because Twilight had told her not to drink so that they don't ruin the mess, and prior to that she got real drunk before, and she's like, okay, I won't, and then they're supposed to kiss and she just chugs wine, and I was like, I get it, Yor, I get it, I feel ya.
Um, Other than that, I guess I really want the show to continue to find a way to keep doing new things. Like
Yeah.
I could see it becoming a thing like, okay, we're gonna go through this entire school year with Anya and have it get to the point where it's like her and Damien's jokes have been done. Mr. Elegant is no longer elegant. Like, can we just, so
Yeah.
I guess that's my biggest fear, is that sometimes shows find a good formula and then they just hug it. And I want them to
Yeah.
keep, I mean, I know they're going to introduce the dog and all that stuff. So hopefully that'll be in things and whatnot. But
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of along the same lines. I've so one of the things that's happened since I started reading a whole bunch more manga, is that I found it hard to read the manga, love the manga, and then watch it. And few series outpace that, like Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't care. Mappa animates it in such a way that I will rewatch all of it, even though I know it's going to happen. My Hero kind of, although I had issues of the previous season, but Spy Family does a wonderful job of bringing the story to life in a way that is the same, but having enough differences and pieces built out in characters that you can only do in a medium that has sound, that I so greatly appreciate it. So I think if you're listening to this because you're a fan of the manga and you are kind of on the fence, I think that's my take. Like Wit and Cloverworks have done just such a phenomenal job with the animation that I can't wait to see more. My one critique is that I wish that the intro and outro had more of that like mod 50s vibe going on, that is really present in the manga. I would like it to pull more from that, or like that modernist like painting aesthetic more. Like you kind of get it. Like I just want something weirder. Like I like the intro and outros, and they're not bad, but they're very standard. Like
yeah.
it's, oh yeah, that's an anime intro or outro. And I think that this story, this series has a nice like twist of weird that you could do something a lot better with those things. And that's kind of that's the one thing I want to see, because whether it's a new season or a new core, it's been 12 episodes. By the laws of anime, there will be new intros and outros. So that is what I am hoping for, because I think everything else is doing really well. The Yor, I think having fans realize how much Yor is beyond just some of her jokes is going to be really great to see. So yeah. So for everybody listening, do you think they should watch it? And if you think they should watch it, what are a couple of reasons why?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, this will definitely be hitting my top, man, I want to say top 5, but at least top 10 animes this year. I watched so much anime and a lot of it has been really good, so I don't want to say anything that I can't back up. But it's phenomenal. It's got heart, humor, just a sprinkling of action that keeps it. And there's always whenever Lloyd or you're around, there's always that possibility that something could happen. So you're kind of like, Anya is a breath of sweet innocence that I think like the world needs right now. She's so wonderful. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, if you just want something that's just like, I'm going to turn my brain off and just enjoy these people and this slow burn developing found family situation. I mean, oh God, when Anya goes back to Lloyd. But it's just so great. It's such a wonderful thing all around.
And I think that that's the thing that like I agree with. I think everybody should watch this. And I think that there's just a joy in the show. Like there's just joy that I think people need right now. And I think everybody should just watch it, like just for Anya having like small existential crisis followed with like just her being a kid and having really loving parents.
I mean, really just Anya's facial expressions every time Yor has a thought.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, every time, every time. But yes, I completely agree. I think everybody should watch this. I think that it's a great anime to just it's a good serotonin boost. It's not like adorable, but will make you cry, which is what we got with Ranking of the Kings, where it's like, this is wholesome and adorable. Oh my God, this is emotional damage. Spy Family is like just wholesome and pretty good when it comes to some action pieces as the series goes on. So yeah, Charles, why don't you tell everybody listening where they can find you, find your work? Yeah.
The only real thing I have for myself, I'm on Twitter at Gatsu083. Bit of an old school anime callback for those who pick up on it. Also, I mean, all of my work is found at butwhythoughpodcast.com. We're just about to hit a new season, so I'm not doing too much at the moment as the animes wrap up and I get ready for the next seasons of stuff. But there is certainly some stuff. I just posted a review for a Korean drama, Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which is surprisingly good and very interesting if anybody's into Korean dramas. And I'm still covering Shikimori. There's a couple episodes left of that for the season. And I think that's it for the moment. And then the random comics and whatnot, but
Awesome. And you can find me at Omer on Twitter and on Instagram. You can check out my pure manga content. That's where that lives. And I am reviewing more so anime feature films now, as opposed to like whole seasons, although I'm going to be working on a couple of Netflix anime that are coming out. So head over to butwhythoughpodcast.com to find all of that. And you can engage with us on Discord, discord.gg/BUTWHYTHO. And on all of our social media at But Why Though PC. Thank y'all.